Okay, let's unpack this. We're opening up the source material today on what is, well, a deeply complex and just unprecedented crisis.
A crisis is the right word for it.
The legal and public scrutiny surrounding Sean Combs, better known to everyone as Diddy.
And this is a really fascinating stack of sources we're digging into.
It is. So for you, our mission is pretty clear. We're sifting through these excerpts, these official breakdowns of a documentary about everything that's happened.
And we're focusing on three really interconnected areas.
Right. First, you have Diddy's frantic, super high-stakes internal strategy, the legal side, the PR side.
How to manage the crisis from the inside.
Exactly. Then second, the really controversial and just incredible way that key evidence got out.
Which is a story in itself.
It is. And finally, the intensely polarized reactions from huge industry figures, like Curtis 50 Cent Jackson and Dame Dash.
So this isn't just a breakdown of a celebrity scandal.
No, not at all. It's an investigation into the internal mechanics of power when it finally meets accountability.
It's a rare look behind the curtain, a mega celebrity trying to manage an existential crisis. The discussion really centers around these severe allegations, but also visible, undeniable evidence.
And that's the immediate hook, isn't it? The evidence that just ripped through the public conversations.
The 2016 security footage.
That video, it became the critical piece that everything else just started to revolve around.
Absolutely. That video became the pivot point because the evidence was so stark.
Yeah.
And to understand the reaction, you have to first understand the mindset inside Diddy's camp.
Right. So let's start there. Inside the room, with Diddy's mindset during these strategy discussions, the picture painted is, well, it's less about redemption and more about a general planning a war.
Yeah.
The source quotes him demanding, "I need to fight for my life." And the core theme for his entire team had to be non-negotiable, that he didn't do anything wrong on any front.
That framing, it reveals a mindset completely dedicated to narrative control, not self-reflection.
Not at all.
The sources describe him being incredibly frustrated, feeling like he was in a war zone. He said he was just running around waiting for a shooter to drop.
Wow.
That's not just fear. It's the language of someone who is so powerful, so used to control, suddenly finding himself completely outside his sphere of influence.
And he felt his team was losing sight of the big picture.
And for him, the big picture is the picture. It's maintaining absolute control.
But the quotes, they detail more than just frustration. They point to hubris. The sources describe him operating with this perceived black Superman mentality.
The idea that I can do what I want.
Exactly. And underpinning his whole career, reportedly, is this mantra, nobody's going to be bigger than me.
And if we connect that to the bigger picture, that mantra is the operating system for his entire career.
For decades.
Decades. The sources, they draw this really vivid parallel. They liken him to, like a Tony Montana in Scarface.
Really? The movie?
Yeah, that desire to control everyone and this core belief that money fixes everything. Money can get him out of everything.
That's the key distinction, isn't it? If your solution is always financial or rhetorical, you stop asking the hard questions.
Yeah.
His focus for his team was purely external. It was, how do I get out of this? Maybe I can convince some witnesses. It was never,
how did I get myself into this situation?
Precisely. And that dictated this extreme PR strategy he demanded. He wasn't just looking for quiet damage control.
No, he wanted to counterpunch.
Yeah.
He demanded better spokespeople constantly pushing one single idea. Still no indictment.
And here's where it gets really interesting.
He went looking for help from someone who has, and I'm quoting here, dealt in the dirtiest of dirtiest, dirty business of media and in propaganda.
So he was looking for the most sophisticated narrative control money could buy. The goal was to bury the story, not address it.
Which is what makes the fact that the story couldn't be buried so fascinating.
His whole strategy was about dominating the narrative, but the most damning piece of evidence was already out there.
Or at least it was accessible.
We're talking about the 2016 security footage.
Correct. The footage showing him physically assaulting his ex-girlfriend Cassie, punching, kicking.
Shoving her in a hotel hallway. It left no room for interpretation.
None. Yeah. And the sheer force of that visual evidence was so powerful that he ultimately couldn't maintain that I didn't do anything wrong stance.
Yeah. He had to publicly acknowledge the video on social media, take responsibility for what was in it.
And that admission, it basically locked the door on any defense that the footage was fake or staged.
It confirmed the core truth that the documentary was built on.
Exactly. And when you talk about victimhood in this whole thing, the sources, quote, 50 Cent's perspective, and
Yeah.
it's very firm.
What does he say?
He sees Cassie as a clear victim. His reasoning is that she came into that world so young, 18 or 19 years old.
And was subjected to a decade of, what, psychological conditioning inside that power structure?
That's the context.
Yeah.
It shifts the conversation from a one-time incident to a long-term pattern.
And for 50 Cent, as the sources explain, the power of this documentary project lies purely in that undeniable truth.
He even suggests that Diddy himself, deep down, would recognize the production quality. He reportedly said Diddy would agree. This is the best documentary I've seen in a long time, just because it reflects that difficult reality.
It's the ultimate validation from your biggest rival, isn't it? Acknowledging the truth of the product.
But that brings us back to the big question. How did someone so focused on control allow this evidence to escape?
That's the pivot point. The sources detail Diddy's frustration with his own team, saying, y'all are not working together the right way.
But that breakdown led to a much more fundamental, almost administrative error.
This is the ultimate example of that black Superman mindset breeding, just a fatal blind spot.
So what was it? The oversight.
It all came down to a simple, almost unbelievable payment dispute. Diddy's usual trusted cameraman sent an unpaid replacement to shoot some footage.
Wait, so the guy who shot the footage wasn't even on Diddy's payroll directly?
Not for that job, no, because this replacement guy was never paid for his work, the raw footage.
Which included the clips that were later found by the documentary makers.
May have legally belonged to whoever bought it from him, which in this case was likely someone working with 50 Cent and Netflix.
Wow. So think about it like this. Diddy has NDAs with his core team, but when his main guy hires an unpaid subcontractor who never signed Diddy's paperwork,
That subcontractor's work product isn't covered by the legal perimeter.
it is the ultimate rookie legal mistake for an operation at that level.
That's just incredible. The irony is it's so thick. A payment dispute between two outside parties is what let the material Diddy never wanted public become the centerpiece of his crisis.
And that critical failure sets the stage for the huge debate around 50 Cent's involvement.
Right. Is this project a long overdue reckoning, or is it just a personal vendetta dressed up as a documentary?
Let's start with 50's stated motivation. He insists this whole thing is not personal.
He frames it as an act of cultural defense.
Exactly. He argues that if he, as a huge figure in the culture, stayed silent, it would imply that hip-hop condones this behavior. So he felt he had to step up.
But the personal angle is impossible to ignore, and 50 doesn't really hide the history.
No, he points to tension going back years. It started when Diddy made some comments to him, specifically offering to take him shopping.
Which 50 Cent saw as a tester.
A power play. A way for Diddy to challenge his place in the hierarchy, test his willingness to submit. And 50 says that one incident planted the root of his disdain.
It's a classic story, right? An unresolved power struggle from the early days of a rivalry.
And now you flash forward decades, and one of them has the power and the platform to document the downfall of the other. So the question becomes, does the motive really matter if the content is factually accurate?
That's exactly what Peter Rosenberg questioned. He saw this as the ultimate payback.
His argument was that 50 has been waiting for this moment ever since the industry tried to squeeze Bro out of the game years ago.
After his track How to Rob.
Right. And now that 50 is rich and untouchable, Rosenberg thinks this is all just a funny game to him.
Which, if that's true, is this a win for accountability or just score settling?
It highlights that dual nature of these things. But then you have the moral critique from Dame Dash, which is really scathing.
He called it nasty work.
And that comes from a very specific place. Dash is criticizing the act of a black man making a documentary to tear down another black man publicly. He says it only helps outsiders profit from the controversy.
It lacks unity, in his view.
He even said, never trust a black man that will make a documentary tearing down another black man for a white man.
That's an explicit framing of this as communal solidarity versus, I guess, accountability through outside media. It raises a tough question.
It does. Is internal critique always better than external exposure, even with allegations this severe?
And then you have the most visceral personal critique of all from an analyst named Soul.
Right. And this critique just ignores all the business and cultural arguments.
It suggests 50 is acting purely out of, well, old emotional wounds. Soul's theory is that 50 is just upset because his son's mother was in love with Puff and she left you.
That just strips everything else away, doesn't it? It reduces this whole multi-million-dollar production to a decades-old love triangle.
It's the ultimate reductionist argument. But, I mean, zooming out, what does all this fighting over motive actually tell us?
It tells us that regardless of 50 Cent's motivation, be it jealousy, cultural defense, or just revenge, the documentary presents this undeniable core of allegations and public evidence.
The debate over the producer's motives, it just becomes secondary to the facts being presented. This story reached a point of no return because the tapes are out there, the testimonies are public.
That's the complete synthesis.
Yeah.
The documentary forced accountability because the facts became impossible to ignore.
It pushed conversations that the industry had avoided for decades right to the forefront.
The era where one figure could control every single narrative element through money and intimidation. That's being seriously challenged.
Absolutely. So you now have the complete picture from Diddy's frantic internal strategy, his black Superman hubris, to the accidental legal loophole that let the evidence out, and finally that deep historical tension with 50 Cent that fueled the whole thing.
We appreciate you trusting us to synthesize all this. It's been a necessary and really complex deep dive.
And here is a final provocative thought for you to mull over. If Diddy's entire career was fueled by that relentless mantra, nobody's going to be bigger than me, what does it mean when a simple oversight like an unpaid cameraman proves that external forces, legal structures, and the truth itself are indeed bigger than any single powerful figure? Something to think about.